Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Astotara Sata Shri Shrimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Astotara Sata Shri Shrimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Brajabhumi Shri Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai. Mayapur Navadvip Dhama Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Jamunamai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. Transcendental Books and Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Chaitanya Charitamrita class at Sri Sri Radha Kalachandjidam. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. यमुनतीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदा नंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदा नंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यशोदा नंदन ब्रज जनरंजना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय श्री चैतन्य चरितामृता की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल ऑल ग्लोरीज टू द assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories to the assembled devotees all glories all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Continuing. So we are continuing with our reading of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Madhya Leela, chapter 8. And we are on text 257 today. Please repeat. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So this is Madhya Leela, chapter 8, text 257. Mukti bhukti vanche jay kahan duhar gati. Sthavara deha deva deha jai che avastiti. Mukti bhukti vanche jay kahan duhar gati. Sthavara deha deva deha jai che avastiti. Mukti bhukti vanche jay kahan duhar gati. Sthavara deha deva deha jai che avastiti. Mukti bhukti vanche jay kahan duhar gati. Sthavara deha deva deha jai che avastiti. Vanche jay kahan duhar gati. Sthavara deha deva deha jai che avastiti. Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is the word for word. Mukti, liberation. Bhukti, sense enjoyment. Vanche, desires. Jai, one who. Kaha, where. Duhara, of both of them. Gati, the destination. Stavara deha, the body of a tree. Deva deha, the body of a demigod. Jaiche, just as. Avastiti, situated. Translation. And what is the destination of those who desire liberation and those who desire sense gratification? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked. Purport. Ramananda Rai replied, those who attempt to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord will have to accept bodies like those of trees. And those who are overly inclined towards sense gratification will attain the bodies of demigods. Those who desire liberation by merging into the existence of God do not desire sense gratification within the material world. On the other hand, they have no information about serving the lotus feet of the Lord. Consequently, they are doomed to stand like trees for many thousands of years. Although trees are living entities, they are non-moving. The liberated soul who merges into the existence of the Lord is no better than the trees. Trees also stand in the Lord's existence because material energy and the Lord's energy are the same. Similarly, the Brahman effulgence is also the energy of the Supreme Lord. It is the same whether one remains in the Brahman effulgence or in the material energy, because in neither is there spiritual activity. Better situated are those who desire sense gratification and promotion to heavenly planets. Such people want to enjoy themselves like denizens of heaven in the gardens of paradise. They at least retain their individuality in order to enjoy life. But the impersonalists who try to lose their individuality also lose both material and spiritual pleasure. The last destination of the Buddhist philosophers is to become just like a stone, which is immovable and has neither material nor spiritual activity. As far as the hardworking karmis are concerned, Srimad Bhagavatam states 11:10-23 Ishtveha devata yajnair swarlokam yati yajnika bhunjita devavat tatra bhogan divyan nijarjitan. After performing various sacrificial rituals for elevation to the heavenly planets, the karmis go there and enjoy themselves with the demigods to the extent that they have obtained the results of pious activities. In the Bhagavad Gita 9:20-21, Lord Krishna states, Traividyamam soma papa puta papa yajnerištva swargatim prartayante te punyamashadya surendra lokam ashnanti divyan divideva bhogan te tam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam क्षीणे पुण्ये मर्त्यलोकं विशन्ति एवं त्वयि धर्मम् अनुप्रपन्ना gata gatam kama kama labhante. Those who study the Vedas and drink soma juice, seeking the heavenly planets, worship me indirectly. Purified of sinful reactions, they take birth on the pious heavenly planet of Indra, where they enjoy godly delights. When they have thus enjoyed vast heavenly sense pleasure, and the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they return to this mortal planet again. Thus, those who seek sense enjoyment by adhering to the principles of three Vedas achieve only repeated birth and death. Therefore, after finishing the results of pious activities, the karmis return to this planet in the form of rain, and they begin their life as grass and plants in the evolutionary process. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So we are almost at the end of this section. So I think we'll do the next two verses also today. It has a theme to it. So in the previous verse, does anybody remember what was Mahaprabhu's question? It's been a week though. Yeah. So Mahaprabhu was asking, what is the most worshipable object? What is the chief of everything that is worshipable? So to which Ramananda Rai replied, it's the holy names of the Lord, right? So in the previous section, at least, they've discussed so much about Radharani and Krishna that Mahaprabhu is asking, okay, we've said those who worship the chief of everything that's worshipable, what their destination is, right? So what happens to those who don't really do it is the question that he's asking in this verse. He says, what is the destination of those who desire liberation? Right? Mukti, bhukti, and those who desire sense gratification. And what is Ramananda Rai's reply? Does anybody remember? Oh, it's right there. It's right there. Yeah. So he says, it's something that's very interesting that Prabhupada says, right? Which is, so at least Ramananda Rai doesn't go that far. He basically says, those who desire liberation, in this case, mukti means impersonal liberation. The kind of liberation where the spirit soul wants to merge into the effulgence of the Lord, where we lose our individuality. All of us, the Vedas say, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam, that all of us are eternal and all of us are conscious. But among all the conscious, all the eternal living entities, there is one supreme living entity who's Nitya, who's even more than them, which is the Supreme Lord, and even more conscious than them. Because all of us are conscious of only our bodies, right? But Krishna is conscious of everything, like that. But there is one sect of transcendentalists, sometimes Prabhupada calls them, who really want to squish their individuality and merge into the effulgence of the Lord. So this is kind of reverse, right? Krishna gives in the Gita the yoga ladder, where you start from. Where does the yoga ladder really start? In the Gita, you know? Huh? Yeah, even before that. Sense gratification. No, this is the yoga ladder. He starts actually from vikarma. In a way, it's sense gratification. But then vikarma is activities that we perform to gratify our senses that are not within the bounds of the frameworks of the Vedas. We want to enjoy, so we'll do anything to enjoy. Right? I want to have some money, I'll go rob a bank. Right? I want to have some food, I'll go rob a grocery store. These are activities that are performed that are not really proper. This is called vikarma. Although the underlying principle is that I want to enjoy my senses. So once we keep doing such activities, what results of such activities? Horrible reactions, right? You go to hell. Because what you're doing is not right, so you have to face the consequences of your actions, right? And over many, many lifetimes of us suffering, we finally realize that there must be some better way of doing this, right? And then we figure out, oh, there is a proper way of doing this. If I have to get money, I have to go work a job and then get the result of my activity and then take that money, go to the grocery store and actually buy something, right? So such activity is called what? In the yoga ladder? Karma kanda, actually, you know. And ultimately, these pleasures that we are speaking about are very not so great, right? Going and buying food in the restaurant. But the pleasures that Ramananda Rai is speaking about here is that you can attain the pleasures of being the denizens of heaven, which is unimaginable for us here in this world that we live in. They live really exquisite lives there. If you really want to be rich, you want to be in the heavenly planet. If you want to enjoy the Shri Radha Kalachanji ki jai. If you want to live life in a really sophisticated way, the place that you have to be is the heavenly planets. So then, when we start enjoying, we don't really find satisfaction in these enjoyments in this material world. So we want to go higher and higher and higher. And we think the pleasures of the lives of the demigods are really incredible. So we perform so many yajnas, sacrifices and austerities to actually get this life of the demigods, which is what is being described here, right? Those who desire sense gratification. The pinnacle of sense gratification in this material world is in the heavenly planets. If we think we have sense gratification here, if the billionaires and trillionaires have sense gratification here, it's basically nothing. The sense gratification that people have in the heavenly planets are just exquisite. So we try to perform these austerities to somehow taste the highest levels of sense gratification. And we do, right? If we put the work in, and Krishna gives us this opportunity to satisfy our desire, to go and taste this sense gratification. But then what happens? We stay there for a very long time. And once all our pious credits are done, we fall down back. Right? A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. You can go anywhere, even up to the Brahma Loka, where it's even more refined, right? This Swarga Loka, it's a very refined way of sense gratification. In Brahma Loka, it's all even more subtle. The entire thing is in the platform of intelligence. Nothing is gross there, in the planet of Lord Brahma. Right? Even there, we can go, but still, we have to fall down. And then we keep doing this. And then we realize this is not really helping me also. This is not really satisfying me. Huh? Then at this point, we actually start inquiring about what is the purpose of life. And this is where Vedanta Sutra actually begins. Atato Brahma Jignasa. We start inquiring about the absolute. Because all these temporary, we finally figure out this is a very temporary thing. I put in so much austerity, so much sacrifice to go there to come back again. And I have to go through all the miseries of this material world, Adhyatmik, Adibhautik, Adidaivik, like that. I have to go through all these miseries. So then an intelligent person actually starts inquiring, oh, what is the purpose of life? What should I actually do? And this is where the yoga ladder shifts, right? From karma to jnana. We actually start inquiring. Actually, there is something in the middle where it's called karma yoga, which is also as equivalent as bhakti yoga, but we'll skip that for now. But we start inquiring about the absolute. We start inquiring about what is this place? Who am I? What am I doing here? What am I supposed to do? Right? But like a ladder, you can either go up or go down or completely slide. So the way in which you can actually go above in this ladder of inquiry is that you realize that you're a spirit soul, but then go even further to say there is a super soul. And there is a relationship between the spirit soul and the super soul, which is what all the previous discussions have mentioned, right? On how we can serve Krishna, how Radharani serves Krishna. All this knowledge starts manifesting. But the ladder can also slip, right? What is the problem with knowledge when we start gathering more and more and more knowledge? We become attached to the knowledge. What else happens as a result of being attached to the knowledge? Pride. Pride starts manifesting. When somebody knows something, they think I'm better than anybody else. Right? This pride starts kicking in. And as a result of this pride, this turn that can actually take us towards Krishna takes a really horrid turn, which is what Ramananda Rai is describing here, where we want to be God. We become so proud that we think we are God. This is where the jnanis actually, because of the strength of their knowledge, do not want to surrender to Krishna, but instead want to merge into the effulgence of the Lord. So this is the problem with jnana, is that if too much knowledge without devotion actually completely takes us astray. And this is very problematic because when we merge into the effulgence of the Lord, we completely lose our individuality. And this is why Prabhupada goes as far to say in the purport that it's better to go and perform sense gratification and be in the heavenly planets than to go and merge into the effulgence of the Lord. That's how horrible it is. Prabhupada calls this spiritual suicide. We lose our individuality and we completely squish, try to merge into the effulgence of the Lord. And what is the situation of us in the effulgence of the Lord? Here Ramananda Rai describes, it is like those of trees. So the trees are conscious, they are living, but unfortunately, they cannot act. They just are non-moving, stay in one place for sometimes thousands of years. You have these redwood trees and trees like this that can be there for 10,000 years even, just standing in one place, which is exactly the opposite of our very own nature, right? Our very own nature is Anandamayo Bhyasat. It is that we are constantly pleasure seeking. But even then we try to seek pleasure. So I used to live in Utah. And then you have these wonderful national parks there in Utah. But they are all these red rocks and red soil. So very desert-like area. So if you go to some canyons there or if you go to places there, you can see that these trees are really dry. There is practically nothing. Very few leaves. But there's still some life in it. You can see some 1 or 2 green leaves there. Because there is no water, they somehow want to seek pleasure. That's probably the pleasure that the trees seek. Somehow they want to have something for their senses. you can find the roots go all the way. They try to go. The tree might be somewhere, but then you can find the root go as deep as possible, as far as possible to somehow gain one drop of water. Now they still try, but they cannot do much. They're still stagnant. They're still there in one place. They want to enjoy, but they cannot enjoy. This is the problem with these trees. And this is the problem with us merging into the effulgence of the Lord also. Is that we are active by nature, we want to seek pleasure, but we have squished our existence into the effulgence of the Lord, that there is absolutely no activity there. And therefore we stand there for such a long time that finally we are fed up of it. And then we fall down again. Prabhupada says this, Aruhya Krichena Param Padam Padam Tatantyado Anadrita Yushmadangreya. Right? That we fall down again into this material existence. So this is the problem with merging into the existence of the Lord. In fact, it's very offensive to the Lord also, because we think that's not, one is from our side, right? We lose our individuality and we can't do much about it when we are merged into the existence of the Lord. But it's even more offensive because we think we are God. And it's the entire process is so twisted, because the impersonalists, they initially will take shelter of the form of the Lord, because they think they are not so advanced in the beginning that they need the form of the Lord to actually meditate on the Lord. They use it as a crutch. And when they think they're so advanced enough, they say there is no form of the Lord. And then they basically neglect it, throw it away. And then they want to become God themselves. So this is a very problematic situation. And Prabhupada says, actually this is said in the ISKCON actually. What Prabhupada is quoting here, in the ISKCON it says, those who worship the demigods go into the darkest regions of hell, it says. But even worse are those who want to merge into the effulgence of the Lord, ISKCON says. So that's how horrible this position of impersonalism is. So what is the solution? This goes in text 258. Ramananda Rai continues this conversation. So I'll just read the verse in translation. Arasagnya kaka chushe jnana nimba phale rasagnya kokila khaya premara mukhule. So what is it like when we try to develop knowledge of the impersonal feature of the Lord? Ramananda Rai says, those who are devoid of all transcendental mellows are like the crows that suck the juice from the bitter fruits of the Nimba tree of knowledge. You know what Nimba tree is? It's the neem tree. Jai Shri Shri Radha Kalachandji ki jai. So those who are devoid of all transcendental mellows are like the crows that suck the juice from the bitter fruits of the Nimba tree of knowledge. Whereas those who enjoy mellows are like the cuckoos who eat the buds of the mango tree of love of Godhead. So he's comparing those who are trying to develop this knowledge to what? Crows. Not so great. Because there is another reference of crows also in Srimad Bhagavatam. Does anybody remember? Yes, bro. Yeah, exactly. So Vyasadeva is really upset. Although he has given us every single possible literature in this world, all the Vedas are there, the Vedanta Sutra is there, the Upanishads are there, the Itihasas are there, the Puranas are there. He's compiled practically everything. Yeah, I'm doing it. So he's done it, but still he's so unsatisfied. So his spiritual master Narada Muni comes and he asks him, why am I so unsatisfied? I thought I've given humankind everything that they need to progress in their lives and make their lives happy. And he compares whatever he has given to a garbage can, basically. Everything that you have given is like that of the place of pilgrimage of the crows. He puts it in very poetic terms, Narada Muni. So he puts the garbage can as place of pilgrimage of the crows. This is where the crows go. They go on a pilgrimage to their garbage cans and try to eat whatever is left over. So this is Ramananda Rai's comparison also, is that those who are devoid of all transcendental mellows, because this is what they're trying to do. When we're trying to merge into the effulgence of the Lord, our very own nature is to exchange rasa. This is what the word here it says arasa, right? They're trying to take out all the rasa, devoid of all the rasa, taste in this world, because they think the world is a problem, right? Which is true. The material world is a problem, but their solution is like, I have a cold, but to cure the cold, I'll cut my head. Okay, the problem is here. Let me take it out. This is what Prabhupada, like the Prabhupada says in the previous purport, the Buddhists also have this problem, right? The entire problem in this world is desire. I have material desire. Because of material desire, I try to enjoy my senses. And because of sense enjoyment, I have miseries. Therefore, let me squish the desire. This is their solution. So what they try to do is try to have this logic of neti, 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 which means not this, not this, not this, not that. Right? So I want to taste something nice, but if I eat something, then I'm attached to it, and then I get all sorts of problems. I get into misery. So let me stop eating. I speak. Because of speaking, I get into trouble. Let me stop speaking. This is their solution. Not this, not this, not that. So therefore, what it looks like is that they're trying to suck the juice out of the bitter fruits of the nimba tree. I don't even know if the nimba tree has actually juice, but even if it's there, it'll be really bitter, because the neem tree, if you were little, at least when I was growing up, I used to be given these neem leaves. The paste of neem leaves is really bitter. It helps with your digestion, but it's really bitter. But there is the opposite of it. The solution is not that we want to avoid everything, but we want to taste the right kind of mellow, right? So, but whereas those who enjoy the mellows are like the cuckoos who eat the buds of the mango tree of the love of Godhead. Prabhupada writes, the speculative process of empiric philosophy is as bitter as the fruit of the nimba tree. Tasting this fruit is the business of crows. In other words, the philosophical process of realizing the absolute truth is a process taken up by crow-like men. But the cuckoo-like devotees have very sweet voices with which to chant the holy name of the Lord and taste the sweet fruit of the mango tree of love of Godhead. Such devotees relish sweet mellows with the Lord. Let's finish this section. Abhagiya jnani ashvadhaye shushka jnana Krishna premamrita pana kare bhagyavan. Ramananda Rai concluded, the unfortunate empiric philosophers taste the dry process of philosophical knowledge, whereas the devotees regularly drink the nectar of love of Krishna. Therefore, they are the most fortunate of all. So he's making a nice compare and contrast of one section of people who are trying to avoid this entire process of trying to drink this juice because they think it's problematic, because of the experiences they've had in this material world. But there are another section of transcendentalists who have figured out the right way to do this, where their enjoyment is like that of the cuckoo, who sings so nicely, tastes the bud of the mango tree. Right? So, Prabhupada in the nectar of, so is one question at least that arises is jnana required at all? Is knowledge required at all? If it results in such horrible endings, is jnana or knowledge required at all? What do you think? Yes or no? The right kind of knowledge. What else? What is the right kind of knowledge? Knowing about Krishna. Actually, Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Devotion, this is chapter 14. This is the name of the chapter is Devotional Qualifications. He lists what are the qualifications required to perform devotional service. In the beginning, Prabhupada writes this in the purport. Some scholars recommend that knowledge and renunciation are important factors for elevating oneself to devotional service. Right? If we have to perform devotional service, we have to have some renunciation, some knowledge required. But actually, that is not a fact, Prabhupada says. Actually, the cultivation of knowledge or renunciation, which are favorable for achieving a footing in Krishna consciousness, may be accepted in the beginning. But ultimately, they may also come to be rejected, for devotional service is dependent on nothing other than the sentiment or desire for such service. It requires nothing more than sincerity. So we might think that in order to perform devotional service, I need to have so much renunciation, I need to gather so much knowledge. So Prabhupada acknowledges that, right? in the beginning, to get some footing, we need it, right? But devotional service actually is not dependent on that knowledge or renunciation at all. And what is it dependent on? Prabhupada says, our sincerity. That is the only thing that devotional service is dependent on, right? So from the outside, when we are looking at these impersonalists, we can very easily categorize them, right? But when we start practicing devotional service, because of the natural tendency of us or this material world, the natural tendency of this material world is to be impersonal, right? That is the reason why all of us have come here in this material world, is that we wanted to enjoy devoid of Krishna. So all of us have this nature in the back of our minds. Although we start practicing devotional service, the impersonal attitudes are not completely gone just because we have started devotional service. They're still in the back of our mind. And even when performing devotional service, they can actually start creeping in. And we might think better than devotional service, our actual sincerity and the activity of devotional service itself, knowledge or renunciation is much more important. And we can start going in such direction, right? This is what Rupa Goswami warns us, is one of the things that can actually destroy devotional service, is niyamagraha, is doing things for the sake of doing things without actually knowing why we're doing it. I'll stick to the rules and regulations, but I have no idea why I'm sticking to the rules and regulations. The rules and regulations are much more important than why I am following the rules and regulations are for, right? So Prabhupada continues. It is the opinion of expert devotees that mental speculation and artificial austerities of yoga practice may be favorable for becoming liberated from material contamination, but they will also make one's heart hard-hearted. And this is problematic. The entire process of devotional service is to make our already stone-like hearts soft. Right? That's why we are trying to do it. So that this is what happens at the stage of bhava. As we progress in our devotional service, one of the qualities of a person in the state of bhava is that their hearts are soft. When our hearts are soft, it is easily moved. We can be moved by the emotions towards the Lord. But when our hearts are hard, there is no way that emotions can penetrate the heart. The real bhakti rasa can never really penetrate the heart, right? So therefore, when we try to focus more on knowledge and renunciation, what happens is it makes our heart harder and harder and harder. And this is what Rajavihari Prabhu was saying also in the class a couple of days back in the temple, is that we need to perform devotional service with feeling. Right? Sometimes we start doing this as a matter of very ritualistic activity, and then we lose the sense of why we're doing it. The entire reason for why we're doing it is so that we can develop love for Krishna. But then when we start doing it in terms of very hard ritualistic terms, it only makes our heart harder and harder and harder and harder. So there is a very wonderful verse in this regard that Prabhupada quotes very often. It starts with Kaivalyam Narakayate. You remember this verse? Kaivalyam Narakayate. Kaivalya means what? Not just any liberation, right? There are 5 kinds of liberation, and Kaivalya is a kind of liberation that we are speaking about in this section. The liberation of merging with the existence of the Lord. This is Kaivalya. And for a devotee, how does he see it? Kaivalyam Narakayate. Why does he see it that way? This is a verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati. We know who Prabodhananda Saraswati is? He is the uncle of? No. Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He is the uncle of Gopal Bhatta Goswami. He has written this wonderful book called Vrindavan Mahimamrita. Vrindavan Dham Mahimamrita? Or Vrindavan Mahimamrita. This wonderful poetry on Vrindavan. When I was in Vrindavan with my spiritual master a couple of years back, every evening he would read 10 verses from the Vrindavan Mahimamrita. It's just incredible. It completely puts you in the mood of Vrindavan. He was such an incredible Rasika devotee. So this, he says, Kaivalyam Narakayate. Why? Devotees see Kaivalya as horrible. We've discussed all of that. But they do see other things also as completely differently. He says, Tridasha Pur Akasha Pushyate. He says, for devotees, this heavenly planets, this enjoyment in the heavenly planets, they see as what? Akasha Pushyate. Akasha Pushyate means the flower in the sky. Is there something called the flower in the sky? There is nothing called the flower in the sky, right? Because the flowers don't grow in the sky. So they see something that has something that's illusionary. There's nothing that pleasure really doesn't exist. That's how they see it. And then they say, Durdhantendriya khala sarpa patali prakata damshtrayate. They say, why do they see it that way? Why do they see the heavenly enjoyments as flower in the sky? Because they've completely controlled their senses. This is like their senses are compared to the snake actually. The senses is really dangerous. Our senses are really dangerous because it's like the snake. It can Prabhupada says a little touch of the snake can completely make the things poisonous. Right? That's how dangerous it is. But for a snake whose teeth has been pulled out, probably kids might fear that, but adults who know that the teeth has been pulled out, it can show its head, but then they won't really bother about the snake. So for the devotees, although the senses are there, they don't really worry about the senses because they're completely engaging their senses in the service of the master of the senses, of Krishna. This is how they're looking at it. So I'll read the translation. The devotee doesn't have to control his senses, for his senses are already engaged in the Lord's service. Consequently, there is no possibility that these senses will act like serpents. In the material condition, the senses are as strong as poisonous snakes. But when the senses are engaged in the Lord's service, they are like poisonous snakes with their fangs removed. And so they are no longer dangerous. And not just that, they see the entire world as Vaikuntha. The material world, which is compared to, what is it compared to? The material world? Ocean of misery. And in fact, it's even more. Dhavagni, Dhavanala. Right? Samsara Dhavanala. It's actually a forest fire that it's so dangerous. But they see this exact material world as the opposite, the devotees. They say this as Vaikuntha. There is no fire, there is no problem here in this material world. Because their perspective of this material world is completely different. Because why? He has no anxiety. He sees that everything belongs to Krishna and he does not want to enjoy anything for himself. He does not even aspire for the position of Lord Brahma or Indra. He simply wants to engage everything in the service of the Lord. Therefore, he has no problem. He stands in his original constitutional position. All this is possible. How? When one receives Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's merciful glance. If we really have to be in this position, if we really have to actually taste some transcendental mellow that will actually keep us in this position, even in this material world, what is required is the merciful glance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without that, it is practically impossible. There is one book that actually is a repository of all these bhakti rasa. You know what book that is? It is stated in the book, actually. What is this book? No, not NOD, not Narada Pancharatra. It is Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam shukamukadamrita dhrava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhraho rasika bhuvi bhavukaha. Srimad Bhagavatam is inviting all of us, saying, hey, this is a repository. Rasam alayam. This is a storehouse of rasa. And come and drink. Oh Rasika, oh connoisseur of rasa, please come and drink this juice. Srimad Bhagavatam is inviting all of us, right? That is where we can actually taste rasa. All of us are trying to taste rasa in this material world by serving one person or the other, Prabhupada says. The husband serves the wife serves the husband. Like the businessman tries to work 5 days a week, thinking that will give him pleasure. Rasa means the taste that gives us pleasure, Prabhupada says. But then the businessman has to take a weekend off from his 5 days of business because the rasa that he's getting from the business for 5 days is not enough. So, bhoga, tyaga, this constant flipping and flopping happens. But the actual bhakti rasa is available for us to drink in Srimad Bhagavatam. But you know how Prabhupada starts Srimad Bhagavatam? What is there in the introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam? Yeah, Chaitanya Charitamrita, the entire life story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a concise form. Prabhupada gives a summary of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada, before giving it, says something very interesting. In order for us to actually penetrate into the rasa of Srimad Bhagavatam, We have to hear from somebody who actually has tasted this, from a person Bhagavat. And there's no other person better than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is a person Bhagavat, who can actually help us taste these mellows of Srimad Bhagavatam, this actual Bhakti Rasa. And therefore, he gives us the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the introduction to Srimad Bhagavatam. So even before we have to enter Srimad Bhagavatam, we have to have the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Without the merciful glance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is no possibility for us to taste this rasa, this Bhakti rasa that is available for all of us. And I'll end this. We are almost time with a very clear, vivid example of somebody who was there in this conception of Kaivalya, who was completely transformed by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, many people. But the one person was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, after getting his sannyas, wanted to go to Vrindavan, but his mother asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to Jagannath Puri instead, because Vrindavan was so far away from Navadvip and she wouldn't be able to get any news of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Therefore, Sachi Mata requested Mahaprabhu to be present in Jagannath Puri, because devotees from Navadvip traveled for the Rath Yatra every year, and she could get some news from them of what was happening to her dear Nimai. So Mahaprabhu, after accepting this instruction from his mother, goes to Jagannath Puri. So they're walking, so many things happen, but they are at the entrance of Puri. Mahaprabhu is there with Nityanand Prabhu, Mukunda Datta is there. I think Jagannath Pandit is also there. Few people are there with Mahaprabhu. But then, at this point, Mahaprabhu says, "You guys stay here. I want to go." He gets upset with them because he wants to go and see Jagannath. This is Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu is in the mood of Srimati Radharani and Jagannath. This Krishna who's been away from Vrindavan for such a long time, and then this is the meeting that happens between Srimati Radharani and Krishna after such a long time. He's running towards Jagannath, and then he sees Jagannath, and then what happens? He faints. He cannot just take it. Mahaprabhu just cannot take it. He goes into these ecstatic symptoms and faints, almost like a dead person. And people in Puri have seen many such bogus sadhus who try to actually artificially try to have these symptoms. So they're trying to come and beat Mahaprabhu, but Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is there and he stops him from doing it. And then takes him to his house. And then he somehow has so much attraction to Mahaprabhu. He's a young sannyasi, so effulgent and brilliant. And then says, "You're so young." And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was such an incredible scholar that he used to train the Mayavadi sannyasis. That was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's pedigree. That even now in Varanasi and in the universities there, they still have used the works of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya before he was a devotee. All his Mayavadi works. He was a Mayavadi. So he said, "I will train you nicely." He told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that you're a young sannyasi. I train sannyasi, so let me train you. And he spoke about the Vedanta Sutra for 7 days and 7 nights to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu was patiently sitting and listening to him. And then in the end, he was asking him, "You have not said anything. You have not asked a single question. Do you really understand what I'm saying?" And Mahaprabhu says, "The Vedanta Sutra is actually very clear for me. For me, I don't have any confusion in the Vedanta Sutra. But what you've said actually is very confusing to me." It is like cloud covering the sun. You've covered the Vedanta Sutra completely, and then it's very confusing to me. And you have this famous discussion of the Atma Ramascha Muneya verse of Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu actually gave the explanation to the Atma Ramascha Muneya verse, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya actually recognized that he was not an ordinary person. This is when it dawned on him that he gave 9 explanations to this verse. Mahaprabhu gave 18 explanations to this verse to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And he said, this is not an ordinary person. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was actually training so many of these Mayavadi sannyasis, completely got transformed. And Chaitanya Charitamrita gives a couple of instances of his transformation. So at the end of this, he actually pays obeisance to Mahaprabhu and surrenders to Mahaprabhu. And then he accepts that Krishna is a person and all of that. And then the next day, Mahaprabhu goes to Jagannath temple in the morning and gets Mahaprasadam from there. This is early. And comes to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. This is early in the morning. The sun has not risen. And and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is just waking up. And when he's just waking up, Mahaprabhu gives him Mahaprasad. You know what Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya usually would have done if you are a Brahmana, strictly following the rules and regulations? If somebody gives you food, what will you do when you wake up? Brush your teeth, clean yourself, be very clean. But then Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's transformation was so incredible that he didn't see any of these rules and regulations. He didn't brush his teeth, he was not clean, he was just waking up. He immediately took up Mahaprasadam and had it and glorified the Mahaprasadam of Jagannath. And Mahaprabhu was so happy. And it just didn't stop at that. There is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a very famous verse that Lord Brahma gives. Tattenu kampam sushamikshamano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam hridvagva purbir vidadan namaste jivetayo muktipada sadaya bhak. Brahma says, for somebody who's suffering, a devotee Krishna, who's suffering and able to tolerate this suffering, the kingdom of God is their rightful inheritance, he says. But there is this word there, Jivetayo Muktipada Sadaya Bhak. Mukti here means not the liberation in the sense of what we have seen here, merging into the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, but Mukti in Srimad Bhagavatam means the actual sense, where we are serving the Lord. But Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was so upset with this word Mukti that he changed this when he was reciting this word to Bhakti Pada Sadaya Bhak. This was the transformation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, that somebody was preaching the Mayavadi sannyasis who were actually prescribing to this mukti of merging into the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, was willing to change the Srimad Bhagavatam to say, this is not Mukti Pada Sadaya Bhak, this is Bhakti Pada Sadaya Bhak. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased with this transformation that happened in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And I'll end with this one final transformation that happened in Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya much later. After the Rath Yatra, there are these wonderful gardens and lakes in Jagannath Puri, and all the devotees are playing this water sport. So Advaitacharya and Nityananda Prabhu were splashing water at each other, and then similarly Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya are also splashing water at each other. And Mahaprabhu is sitting with Gopinath Acharya, who is the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and saying, stop, ask these Ramananda Rai and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya to splash water on each other. They are knowledgeable people. They are respected scholars. What will people think when they are doing this? He's just pulling their leg, all these scholars. And then Gopinath Acharya actually says this wonderful verse. I have the translation for it. Bengali is also nice. He says, logic is like a dry oil cake from which all the oil has been extracted. Think of it. You put the cake out and it's dry in the sun for 10 days. Everything is gone. It's completely dry. That's how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was, right? The Bhattacharya passed his life in eating such dry cakes. He thought that was so amazing, right? If somebody who's never tasted a cake but has tasted only dry cakes, this is what Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was doing. But now you've made him drink the nectar of transcendental pastimes. It is certainly your great mercy upon him. This was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Never go and splash water on anybody. He would never do it, even in his dreams. And yet, when he had tasted the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, this Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was eating these dry cakes of logic, was tasting these transcendental mellows. And all this was possible only by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if we really want to taste bhakti, there is no other way than actually getting the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When we have the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we can actually taste bhakti rasa. So this section ends like this with Ramananda Rai. So I went a few minutes over time, so I'll stop here. So thank you all for listening. If there are any questions or comments, we can take it. Yes, Mataji. Do you have the mic? Do you have a mic? Okay, yeah, you have a mic there.
Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. I was thinking as you're talking about knowledge, it's also mentioned that knowledge and renunciations are the byproducts of bhakti.
Correct.
It comes automatically. You don't have to endeavor for it. And I always think of it like, Gaurkishore Das Babaji, he was materially to look at, he was illiterate, so as to say. But when you, when people would hear him, he could recite the Srimad Bhagavatam. That came from the sincerity in his in the chanting of holy name. So that's a proof. But of course, as you were mentioning, that Prabhupada says in the beginning it's needed knowledge. Isha
Correct.
Upanishad also says that, like he was saying in the purport, that it's better, the sense gratifiers are better than the liberation seekers, because they have better scope
Yeah.
to get back to the track of bhakti. And in the Isha Upanishad it's also said that avidya is better than vidya. Like wrong knowledge is better than no knowledge is better than wrong knowledge. And I mean, couple of, when you were mentioning Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's episode in the purport, Prabhupada writes that Buddhists are better than the impersonalists because they don't misconstrue the scriptures. They altogether reject it. So, all these things were coming. Thank you so much for bringing it all together. And towards the end, I haven't heard that pastime of splashing water. So thank you for that. And, saying that Bhagavatam, to get into Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita is so much needed. I mean, the mercy of Mahaprabhu. And I was thinking might be the reason why Srila Prabhupada completed Chaitanya Charitamrita even before Bhagavatam, like pausing Bhagavatam. So
Correct.
thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Yes, bro.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, you were saying, right, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is like Bhakti Rasamalayam. It is so full of nectar that even when we distribute books, just by reading those books, even strangers also, they get connected to Krishna
Correct.
and Krishna consciousness. So, Prabhu, like this Gyanis, Mayavadi philosophers, like in their course of studies, they also go through these scriptures, right, Prabhu? So, why don't they have this transformation in their heart?
Yeah. This is connected to the point that Mataji was saying, is that initially the Gyanis' focus is not on Krishna. That's why they don't try to. But if they come in contact with Srimad Bhagavatam, they can get transformed. But their mentality is so offensive that the Bhagavatam cannot penetrate. So even in the case of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, how did he get Mahaprabhu's mercy, Yeah.
He was here too.
Yeah, his brother-in-law, Gopinath Acharya, Mahaprabhu, actually Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya agrees when he gets the mercy of Mahaprabhu. It is by the mercy of Gopinath Acharya that I got this mercy. So that's one thing. Even if we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, like Prabhupada said, we need to follow in the footsteps of the person Bhagavat to actually know what's there in the book Bhagavat. If we don't have that, then Bhagavatam will also not really penetrate, because people can start twisting Bhagavatam to be an impersonal literature. Even the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, they try to twist it like that. And the main focus for them is actually not even in the sense of Bhagavan, the Gyanis. Their entire search for knowledge is, how can I get out of this material misery? That's how it is, right? So for us also, initially that is good, Prabhupada says, right? Initially we are here in this material world. Oh, why am I here in this miserable material world? Initially that jnana is nice. Oh, I'm not this body, I'm the spirit soul. But then our focus should shift from complete focus on not this body, the spirit soul, to how can I be attached to Krishna. That shift of focus never really happens to the Gyanis. It will happen if they are actually properly progressing. What we are saying is the negative case, right? You're in the yoga ladder. Like in any ladder, you can progress upwards. The Gyanis can also progress. If they're approaching the knowledge in the right way, they will also progress to dhyana and bhakti. But what we are talking about is the case where that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen because of the pride and other things that come in, where they think they know so much that they're not able to submit themselves, surrender themselves. The pride actually overcomes them, and therefore they go astray. That's why they are not able to really get it. But the Gyanis can also get it. It's not that the Gyanis cannot get it. That's what the yoga ladder is all about. No? You can still go upward, progress. Make sense? Yeah. Yes. Welcome back, Mr. Bhagavan Prabhu. He's been in Mayapur for, 1 year, probably more, bringing all the mercy from Sridham Mayapur.
Thank you. You were mentioning about by eating neem leaves, you can, that the neem or neem leaves are medicinal.
Yeah.
They cure different problems, stomach problems.
Yeah.
So it's an Ayurvedic cure. In the world of medicine, there's the pharmaceutical industry gives people actually poison that makes them more sick. They say, well, this take Namadol, it can cure your blood pressure, but unfortunately has these side effects like internal bleeding, blindness, vomiting, and death.
They go through an entire list in these medication advertisements.
So those aren't really good. Those are medicines that just make people more sick. But the Ayurvedic medicines can actually cure things. But with what I was wondering is, with the material body, how do you know when it's just a lost cause? Like, how much effort should we put in trying to cure diseases? Because we know that in history, nobody's ever been able to actually cure birth, death, old age, and disease. The material body, it has 6 transformations. Born, grows, reproduces, works, dwindles, and dies. So the dwindling, it seems inescapable with this material body.
Yes.
Eventually, no matter what you do, you're going to get sick and you're going to die. So as devotees, knowing that Krishna is in control and it's this material body is meant to die, meant to suffer, how much effort should we put into trying to become well and not get sick and die?
Yeah. So I remember this pastime of when you were saying this of Sanatan Goswami. He had this pus developed when he was in Jagannath Puri all over his body, and Mahaprabhu would come and hug him every day, and he really didn't like it. All this pus and blood would go on Mahaprabhu's body, and then one day he decided that I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to commit suicide, because he just couldn't take Mahaprabhu getting all this pus and blood on his body, because Mahaprabhu would try to hide away from Mahaprabhu, but then Mahaprabhu would come to Sanatan Goswami and hug him. So when he goes to commit suicide, Mahaprabhu says, you cannot take away my property. You have no right over this, because we consider our body to be ours. I can do anything with my body. And then from that perspective, these thought processes arise. But Mahaprabhu was telling, once you've surrendered, everything belongs to me. Even your body belongs to me. So how can you take away this by yourself? So the entire idea of devotees is to maintain health to serve the Lord. Ultimately, we know that old age is going to kick in, death is going to kick in, but then it doesn't mean that we neglect our health